Hello there, and welcome to Alvarez's Diecast Customs. Today I'm going to be working on this Matchbox Mercury Cougar. This particular one was made in around 1970, done by the Lesney Corporation. It's in reasonable shape, but upon closer inspection the paint's in quite rough condition on some areas, chipped off in others. It's just not very smooth. It's almost orange peely all over. Also, just really do not like the way the car sits on those wheels. They're far too narrow. Makes the thing look like sort of grandma's driver rather than the muscle car it should do. Just take a closer look at him. So as you can see, that paint is quite chipped up in some places. Got that plastic tow hook. Really doesn't belong on something like this, so we'll look at getting rid of that as well. As you can see, it's from the Superfast range. This is the second revision on this model, I believe, where they used the wire axles with these wheels. Before that, had sort of more thicker axles with rubber wheels. Some opening doors. I've already taken the time to drill the base out on this one. There's only one post to hold it on. I use a 2mm drill bit and work up to a 5mm to drill it out. As you can see, the front of the actual car here on the grille hooks into the body, and that's what holds the front area on with just the single post. You got that suspension piece with that plastic unit that they use. Probably have to be removing this for what I got planned for it. There's an interior, bit grubby, but overall in good condition. We'll just give that a clean. The dash piece flips out. Quite a nice detailed little steering wheel on there. So used to the Hot Wheels ones just being some sort of generic blob. But you can actually pick out the spokes on that steering wheel. And there's that glass piece. Quite scratched up. I'll probably just give this a polish. I don't like to do too much to these, especially with the older Matchbox glass. It tends to be quite brittle, and you start putting pressure on it, it just shatters into tiny pieces. There's those doors. Should be able to remove those. It's got that sort of retaining suspension piece of metal there to hold the doors in. So let's get on to stripping it. Upgraded to a jar now for the stripper. Just dunk that in there. Just give that a good shake up. Leave that for around 30 minutes to an hour. And when it's ready, just chuck it under a hot water tap. Use an old toothbrush and scrub it off. And here's what you're left with. This was also after just quickly going over it with a wire wheel. Not too bad, to be honest, considering the model was from around 1970 as it is. It's quite nicely detailed. Very intricate. Diecast seems a lot thinner than the Hot Wheels standard stuff these days. There's that base again. Go about removing these axles with the wheels. So we'll just take a flathead screwdriver, just stick it under that bit, give it a bit of pressure and ping the wheels out. These wheels are really just silly, so skinny. It looks so wrong on the car. Are we doing away with them? So we're going to go see our friend Super Bochaco. Hold on a minute, that's not Super Bochaco. Who the hell are you? Sega Saturn? Nice. What's that you got there? Let's have a look at these. Ah. Nice. These will go very well with this Mercury Cougar. Thanks for that. So I'm just going to tidy up some of the molding errors on this, just using my diamond files. Just some small sort of blemishes around the front of the bonnet here. Just work at getting rid of them. There's also sort of a moulding line that ran across the top of the bonnet too. We'll clear that off as well. Again, this is one of the things I really sort of emphasize doing because it really does improve the look of the car once you're finished with it. Just removing some on the sides there, on the fenders. And there we go. That's what you're left with after a bit of filing. Not a whole lot needed doing on this, just some of the edges, just sharpening them up, smoothing some of it over. So I've already taken the time just to quickly drill that suspension piece of plastic out. It's held in just by 2 small posts. Also went over the base quickly with the wire wheel as well. So let's just check out these wheels and how we're going to intend to fit them in there. Can't really set them in there as they are at the moment. I'm going to need to sort of fashion up a little sort of thing to hold the axles. We'll just test fit the body because currently the wheels will sit too high and they foul against the fender wheel wells and cause the wheels not to actually roll at all. As you can see, just they're too high up. So I'm going to have to do something about that. What I've done is just marked out where exactly those axles sit. I'm going to be using this diamond file and gently just filing a little channel out for the axles to sit in. This will also center the axles up for it and also make them sit a bit lower in the chassis, allowing the wheels to spin freely without fouling against the bodywork. So there you go. It's just after giving that a good file out, you can see that channel just filed out. There it is at the front too. And now the axles, locate in those and keep them centered. There you go, you can see they spin nicely as well. They keep well away from those arches. So just get it on to paint. Went ahead and went over with a grey primer from Halfords and then went over with a diamond white from Halfords as well from a spray can. Quite a nice finish on it so far. This will be clear coated after a bit more detailing. That's what I'm going to go with. And on the base I just filled in that little tow hook section where there was a gap with some milliput and also just clipped off the tow hook from the interior piece. As you can see, used to have the tow hook sticking out the back there. So with this milliput, I just sort of put more than I needed on there and let it dry for about a day. Now that it's dry, I can start shaping it. Just use a good scalpel, remove most of the material with this and then file it down for the rest. As there's already most of the rear bumper attached to this anyway, you can just work it from there and just try and smooth it all out. So there we go. So after a bit of filing, smoothed out pretty well. So I've just hit the base with some of the same white paint as well. We can can start getting on with some detailing now. So I'm just going to be going over some of the grill area with some Revell aluminium paint. This has sort of got a good sort of base colour, I find. Go all over the grill and the bumper. Also went over the rear bumper, and to keep the line straight for that I used some masking tape. Also just go over the rear tail lights on the body with the same Revell aluminium. We can use some Tamiya clear red to go over those. I much prefer using the clear red over silvers. It gives a lot of depth to it, especially when you're doing tail lights and things. Much more realistic look to it. And there's that. I'm going to be using this Molotow liquid chrome pen. I'll just be going around some of the smaller details on the body here. First of all, I go around the front window. Just bring out some of the detail there. Quite a steady hand for this, especially with the fat tip on this pen. You need to hold it quite steady. This pen as well seems to take almost a whole week to dry fully hard, so you'll want to keep your fingers away from it while it's drying. I don't let it dry for the entire full week, but about a day is usually enough, and then I can clear coat it without causing any imperfections. I'm also just going to go around the fender well areas, just bringing a bit of detail out on those with the chrome pen. Do this on all four wheels. Also just hit the bumpers as well with it. I initially went over them with that aluminium. That's just sort of a good base colour, and I can use this to go over the top. As the pen's so thick, it won't always reach all the crevices on it, whereas you can with the paint. Do the rear one too. Felt like painting the interior in blue. I thought that was a good contrast to the white paint that I did. So this is just some Vallejo Azure blue. Just lightly brushing it all over. I'm just doing some extra detailing on the grille using some Citadel Nuln oil. It's basically just a black wash. Really brings out some of the details there. Also did it onto the rear tail lights. And then onto the interior, do the Nuln oil wash over that as well. As you can see, I did some extra details on that. Some wooden steering wheel and a wooden dash and center console. So it's all ready to put together now. There's that window piece, polished up quite nicely, just using some Maguire's plastics. Just tapped a bit on my finger and then rubbed it on there. Came up quite nicely. There's an interior. I hit the seats on here with some clear gloss just to give them a bit more of a leathery look. And there's that base. That's had a good clear coat. And there's that front bit. With the Nuln oil, really good, brings a lot of detail out on that. And there's that bit there where there used to be the tow hook gap. Never know it's there looking at that. And I just used some plastic card just to hold the axles in place. I used some super glue with a bit of baking soda just to sort of dry that stuff and keep it more rigid. Now I just pop the window back in. Literally just pops in there and locates onto that sort of center button. Goes the interior. This base piece is quite fiddly now that I've got fatter wheels on it. You need to sort of hook it in and kind of push the front wheels into the wheel wells for it to locate correctly. Trying to be careful because I don't want to take off all the paint around the front there with it. Pop that 5mm self-tapping screw back into the hole and get that screwed in tightly. So, before we go and have a look at what this looks like, let's take a look at what we started with. As it was a rather tired looking Mercury Cougar, and those wheels really just weren't doing it justice. And that lime green, just wasn't feeling it. Looked all wrong. So let's have a look at what we ended up with here. There we go. Much better, I find. No longer Grandma's Cruiser. It's a proper muscle car, the way it should have been. Gave this 2 coats a clear coat. There's a different one that I use this time. I used Rust-Oleum urethane spray can. Came out quite nicely, I find. Just take a closer look at him here. Much better stance now with those wheels. Much more aggressive look to it that it needed. Its windows came out very nicely as well, with just glossing, polishing them up. Very glossy and crystal clear. I was expecting them to be a lot worse than they turned out. I thought there was going to be a lot of cracks and chips in them, but very happy with it. There's that extra detail on the rear tail lights with that non-oil. Really brings out a lot of depth to that. Quite a nice understated look, I think. Didn't want to overdo it. This would, in my opinion, a sort of Mercury Cougar that I'd love to own myself. This sort of styling. As you can see, I also painted the door cards on the interior as well, the same colour, just to tie everything in. There's the driver's side. So, let me know down in the comments what you think of it. Would you have done the same colour with this? Or would you have done it something else? Or did I just completely mess it up and should have left it as it is? So let's head back to Sega Saturn again and see what she's got for us next time. Oh, what's that? For me? Nice. Let's have a look at this. Ah, it's a 52 Chevy truck. Very interesting. Wonder what we could do with this. I'm liking it. Be interesting to see if I'll keep that red interior window or not. See what comes out of that. Thanks for that. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I just want to say a special thanks to all the subscribers I've been getting and all the comments. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye for now.